Okay, so we are done creating the DAX columns or the DAX calculated columns. We are going straight to calculate or get straight into the finance view of our dashboard. Okay, so I'll rename this part and call it finance view. Right now, with the finance view, there are certain metrics that we need to calculate. So in this part, we'll just report certain measures, okay, and we'll calculate them. So there's a chart of it. Now, for our finance view, for the finance dashboard, we need gross sales, pre-invoice deduction, net invoice sales, post-invoice deduction or discount, this blah blah. We need all these things, okay. So what we'll do is that we'll open or we'll have a new measure, then we'll call it reported measure. The reported measure will have measures of all these things. Now having them in that measure, it makes it very dynamic. It makes it very easy to try and calculate or try and get the figures for each step. Okay, that is why I'll be creating the report measure here. Okay, so let's come here, home, enter data, then we'll call this table report measures. Okay, so that's where we'll be keeping all our measures. So let's first calculate our gross sales, right? Okay, so I think it's loaded. Okay, so come here, new measure, we'll call this gross sales dollar. Okay, equals to sum fact that is it. Okay, we'll play this thing from there. Then we'll go ahead and find our pre-invoice deduction. Okay, let's come here. So we'll come here, new measure, pre-invoice deductions. Pre-invoice deductions equals to sum fact. Let's see if we can find pre-invoice deduction. Oh, okay. So remember, I remove certain columns, right, because of the loading time, and pre-invoice deduction, gross price were part of them. So I can't calculate it here. But what I can do is I can first calculate for net invoice sales. When I get net invoice sales, all I'll do is I'll just subtract net invoice sales from gross sales and I'll get my pre-invoice deduction. Okay, so I think let me first calculate net invoice sales dollar. Okay, equals to sum net invoice sales, right? Okay, so this is our net invoice sales. And what I'll do is that for us to get our post invoice deduction, post invoice deductions. Okay, that will be equals to this minus this, and that's our post invoice deduction. Okay, and that's our pre-invoice deduction. Sorry, not post invoice deduction. Pre-invoice deduction. Sorry, not post. Pre-invoice deduction. Pre-invoice deduction. So now we'll go to our post invoice deduction. Then we'll go to our post invoice other deduction, right? So let's go to the next measure, that is post invoice deduction. Post invoice deductions, and that will be equal to some facts post yeah, this one, invoice deduction amount. Yeah, then we have post invoice post invoice order deduction equals to some, okay, post invoice order, no, post invoice deduction amount, post invoice order deduction. Yeah, let me see. Okay, so we'll now calculate our total cost, total post invoice, right? So total post invoice, that will be equal to post invoice deduction plus post invoice order deduction. Okay, yep, and that will give us our total post invoice. Now when we have our total post invoice, we can get our net sales, and that will be some, we can use gross sales minus total post invoice. So we might use gross and net sales invoice minus total post invoice, and we can get our net sales. But we already have a measure of net sales, so we can just go ahead and calculate it simple. Okay, so we'll come here. Sorry. New measure, that to be a net, so say net sales equals to some facts. You already have net sales here. Okay, that's it. That's our net sales. So remember, we have net invoice sales and we have net sales. The next measure will be manufacturing costs. Okay, manufacturing costs equals to, manufacturing costs, that be equals to some facts manufacturing cost, right? Okay, let's enter. That's manufacturing cost. Then we need our freight costs and other costs. Okay, so come here, freight costs, okay, equals to some That's freight cost. Then other costs. Let's calculate other cost. Okay, so other costs. Cost some other costs. Yes. Then we'll calculate our total cost of goods sold, right? So total COGS, total COGS percentage equals to manufacturing plus, let's see, total cost. Let's see if we can get it from our facts table. We'll find out something. So some fact. You see, there's no total cost here because remember we took total cost from our fact actual estimate, right? So we can't find them here, so we have to calculate them. That is why we are adding manufacturing cost to the freight cost to other costs. Okay, yes, so yeah, and that's our total costs. So since we have our total costs, we can now proceed and calculate our gross margin, right? So gross margin is equal to net sales minus total costs, okay, and that will give us our gross margin. All right. Then another measure that we need to calculate is gross margin percentage. That's a very important measure in finance. Gross margin percentage. When I'm doing presentation of this data set, I'll try and delve deep into gross margin and gross margin percentage. So now we need to calculate gross margin percentage, okay, and we use a function called divide. The reason why we are using a divide function is that we want to eliminate anything that has zeros, okay. So if, assuming we are dividing a number, or we are dividing gross sales by over net sales, and the net sales is 0, the divide function will automatically assume it is 0. So it's only a new figure. It makes it very simple, very appropriate. Okay, that's why we use divide. Most of the time when we want to deal with anything called percentage and those things, divide is very, very good. So we use divide. What are we dividing? We are dividing gross sales over our net sales, right? Net sales. And assuming if it is not like that, it should be 0. Okay, that is it. This percentage, so remember it should be percentage. Yeah, should percentage. Let's just make a GM percentage. GM percentage. Let's make this part as a GM. GM, yeah. So yes. Then we can now calculate. We can find GM percentage per unit. Okay. GM percentage per unit. That will be, so GM per unit. That would be GM divided by quantity. Oh wait, we don't have quantity, right? Okay. So let's Let's see. Let's see if I can find ways of getting the quantity here from the fact actual estimate, which okay, there's it. That's fact sales monthly, right? But not from fact actual. Okay, we can use this one, fact actual estimate, right? That's not a problem. We can use this one. It will give us the same thing. Okay, but let's try and create a separate measure for quantity just to make it quite simpler. Okay, so let's call this one quantity equals to, some facts. Get it? Some facts and fact actual estimate here. Okay, so that's quantity. Then we can now calculate our GM per unit. Okay, GM per unit, that will be equal to GM. So let's use divide. Remember, anytime you want to do any division, it's better to use a divide function. So GM, comma, quantity, yeah, comma, 0, then we close it. Yeah, so we successfully calculated all our measures that I'll be needing in creating the finance report P&L. So we've done that successfully. In the next video, we'll now get deep into creating tables so that we can complete our finance view of the dashboard. Thank you so much.